Welcome to Live Healthy Every Day. I'm Dr. Min. Today, we're going to explore an incredibly fascinating topic, how to keep our brains sharp and healthy as we age. And to discuss this, I have the honor of welcoming Associate Professor Lin, a leading expert in nutrition and brain health.
Hello, Dr. Min, and hello to all our listeners. It's a pleasure to be here to share the latest scientific knowledge on how to protect our brains.
Associate Professor Lin, why should we start caring about our brain health early on? Isn't it something we only need to worry about when we get older?
That's a common misconception, Dr. Men. In fact, the latest scientific research shows that taking care of the brain needs to start very early. Specifically, a groundbreaking new study published in the journal JAMA indicated that about 45% of dementia cases could be prevented by intervening in modifiable risk factors.
45%? That number is truly impressive. So, does that mean we can essentially hack our brains?
Exactly! And to prove this, I want to share a critically important study called US Pointer. It's the largest study ever conducted to test how healthy lifestyle habits can improve brain health.
Just the name alone sounds top tier. What's so special about this study?
This study is truly special because of its scale and design. They followed 2,111 adults aged 60 to 79 at 5 different sites, all of whom were healthy but at risk for cognitive decline and dementia. Importantly, they paid close attention to diversity. 31% of participants were from minority ethnic groups, and 78% had a family history of memory loss.
So, what did they have the participants do?
This is the exciting part. They were split into 2 groups, a self-directed group and a structured group. The structured group followed a very rigorous program: 4 days of aerobic exercise, 2 days of resistance training, and 2 days of stretching and balance exercises per week. They also had to follow the MIND diet, a combination of the Mediterranean and DASH diets, and participate in a web-based cognitive training program 3 times a week.
That sounds pretty hardcore. What were the results?
The results were truly surprising. Both groups showed cognitive improvement over the 2-year trial, but the structured group performed better, especially in executive function. This shows that our brains can genuinely be reprogrammed.
That's fantastic. But I'm curious about the personal stories. Did anyone share their experience?
Absolutely. There's Phyllis Jones, 66, from Illinois. She said she was forever changed by the experience. Her mother and grandmother both had dementia, and she had been neglecting her own health after being laid off from her 28-year career as a software engineer. She even said, "I was heading for a cliff, and I could feel it."
That's so sad. But I'm guessing the story has a happy ending.
Exactly. After the program, she lost 30 pounds, about 13.6 kilograms, and now wakes up every morning to do virtual reality exercises in her pajamas before work. She is living proof of the power of lifestyle changes.
So let's talk more about this MIND diet. The name itself sounds very smart.
Haha, that's right. MIND is an acronym for Mediterranean-Intervention for Neurodegenerative Delay. It's a hybrid of the Mediterranean diet and the DASH, dietary approaches to stop hypertension.
Why combine these 2 diets?
Because each one has its own unique strengths. The Mediterranean diet is famous for protecting cardiovascular and brain health, while the DASH diet focuses on controlling blood pressure. Studies show that both diets, rich in vegetables, fruits, whole grains, olive oil, beans, and fish, are associated with fewer of the brain changes related to Alzheimer's.
Specifically, what should we be eating?
According to a 2015 study, you should aim for 6 or more servings per week of leafy green vegetables like kale, spinach, and broccoli. Additionally, berries, Blueberries, strawberries, blackberries at least twice a week. They contain anthocyanins, a powerful antioxidant that protects nerve cells. Nuts, walnuts, almonds, cashews, at least 5 times a week. They provide vitamin E and omega-3s, which are good for the brain. Fish, especially fatty fish like salmon and mackerel, at least once a week. Beans, all types of beans and lentils, at least 3 times a week.
What about things we should avoid?
This part is just as important. The Mind Diet recommends limiting red meat, no more than 4 times a week, butter and margarine, less than 1 tablespoon a day, cheese, no more than once a week, fried and fast food, no less than once a week, sweets and pastries, no more than 5 times a week. In fact, processed meats have been linked to higher rates of dementia and poorer cognition, while replacing them with nuts and beans helps reduce the risk of dementia.
Are there any studies that prove its specific effectiveness?
There are many. A new study presented at the American Society for Nutrition conference showed that people who strictly followed the Mind Diet had a 9% lower risk of dementia compared to those with poor adherence. Another systematic review that analyzed 40 articles and 32 independent studies also found that high adherence to the Mind Diet had a protective effect against dementia in 7 out of 10 studies.
How does it work? What's the mechanism?
There are several different mechanisms. First are the anti-inflammatory and antioxidant effects. This diet is rich in substances that have these properties, helping to protect brain cells from damage. Second is the impact on cerebral vessels. Improving blood flow to the brain is crucial. More recently, there's the concept of the gut-brain axis. The gut-brain axis may mediate the impact of nutrition on brain health. This means that what we eat doesn't just affect the brain directly, but also via our gut microbiome.
Moving on to the topic of exercise. I know many people think exercise is for building muscle, the brain is for reading books. Is this you right or wrong?
Completely wrong. This is perhaps one of the biggest misunderstandings about brain health. In fact, in one trial, a year of regular exercise led to a small increase in the size of the brain's memory center. This is equivalent to reversing 1 to 2 years of age-related brain atrophy.
Wonderful. So what's the mechanism that allows exercise to affect the brain?
There are several complex mechanisms. First, exercise increases blood flow to the brain, supplying oxygen and nutrients. Second, it stimulates the production of BDNF, brain-derived neurotrophic factor, a protein that helps with the growth and protection of nerve cells. Current research shows that people who are physically active and those prescribed structured exercise regimens both demonstrate improved cognitive function and reduced brain atrophy, especially in the hippocampus.
The hippocampus. That's the memory center, right?
Exactly. The hippocampus is where memories are formed and stored. It's also one of the first regions damaged in Alzheimer's disease. The fact that exercise can protect and even increase the size of this region is truly a breakthrough discovery.
Wonderful. So what's the mechanism that allows exercise to affect the brain?
There are several complex mechanisms. First, exercise increases blood flow to the brain, supplying oxygen and nutrients. Second, it stimulates the production of BDNF, brain-derived neurotrophic factor, a protein that helps with the growth and protection of nerve cells. Current research shows that people who are physically active and those prescribed structured exercise regimens both demonstrate improved cognitive function and reduced brain atrophy, especially in the hippocampus.
The hippocampus. That's the memory center, right?
Exactly. The hippocampus is where memories are formed and stored. It's also one of the first regions damaged in Alzheimer's disease. The fact that exercise can protect and even increase the size of this region is truly a breakthrough discovery.
So what type of exercise is most effective?
A systematic review and meta-analysis found that resistance training has the highest probability of being the optimal exercise therapy to slow cognitive decline, especially for patients with dementia. However, subgroup analyses showed that multi-component training tends to be the most effective exercise therapy to prevent the decline of global cognition and executive function in patients with MCI, mild cognitive impairment.
What does multi-component training mean?
It's a combination of different types of exercise, just like the program in the U.S. Pointer study we discussed: aerobic, resistance, stretching, and balance. Each type has its own effect. Aerobic, running, brisk walking, swimming, increases blood flow, improves cardiovascular function. Resistance, weight training, yoga, strengthens muscles, stimulates the production of growth hormones. Balance and coordination stimulates new neural connections.
What about brain training? I see many apps advertised that claim they can make you smarter.
This is a very interesting and somewhat controversial topic. One study did identify the first brain training exercise positively associated with dementia prevention. Specifically, the risk of developing dementia was 29% lower for participants who did speed of processing training compared to the control group.
29% is a significant number.
It is, but it's important to note that not all brain games are equally effective. One study did find that mental training did delay the decline in thinking skills. However, after people started showing symptoms of Alzheimer's disease, the mental decline actually accelerated in those who remained mentally active.
That sounds complicated. So what should we do?
According to advice from expert Heather Snyder of the Alzheimer's Association, we should find ways to stretch and use your brain, your memory, your cognition in ways that are different, that are new to you, and that push your limits. This means learning a new skill, playing a musical instrument, learning a foreign language, changing your daily routine, solving complex puzzles, reading a wide variety of genres, participating in new social activities.
We've talked about diet and exercise, but what about social connection?
This is an extremely important factor that is often overlooked. Feelings of loneliness can increase the risk of dementia, while having strong social connections is key to cognitive health. In the U.S. Pointer study, allowing participants to meet with their peers provided a social component for support, which was a critical component of the intervention.
Why is social connection so important for the brain?
There are many reasons. First, social interaction stimulates multiple areas of the brain at once. We have to listen, process language, read emotions, and plan our responses. It's a comprehensive gym workout for the brain. Second, social connection helps reduce stress and depression, two factors that can harm the brain. Finally, social activities often involve learning new things and challenging ourselves.
So what can we do in practice?
There are so many ways. Take the story of Peter Gisber's Van Wyck from the study. After the trial, he continued practicing yoga and walking 5 miles a day, at least 5 days a week. He also started volunteering in his community for more social contact and to contribute. Some other suggestions: join clubs based on your hobbies, take group classes, learn a foreign language, cooking, dancing, volunteer for social organizations. Maintain regular contact with friends and family. Participate in religious or spiritual activities if they're a good fit.
It seems like all of these factors need to be combined. Is that correct?
Absolutely. This is the most important point I want to emphasize. According to expert Heather Snyder, any disease that causes cognitive decline and dementia will likely require multiple solutions, including behavioral interventions combined with medication. Expert Claudia Donna also advises, to improve brain health, it is important to adopt multiple lifestyle changes.
So, can we summarize the secret formula for brain health?
Based on all the scientific studies we've discussed, this formula consists of 4 main pillars: smart nutrition, the MIND diet, rich in leafy greens, berries, nuts, and fish, while limiting red meat and fried foods. Diverse exercise, a combination of aerobics, resistance training, and balance, starting slow, like 10 minutes a day, and gradually increasing. Mental challenges, learning new things, solving complex problems, and changing routines. Social connection, maintaining and developing relationships and participating in community activities.
And any advice for those who are just starting out?
The most important thing is to start slowly and find what you enjoy. As Mr. Peter Van Wyk said, the most important thing is to try a little bit and see what you like, because if you like it, then you'll be able to stick with it. Don't try to change everything at once. Pick one area to start with. Maybe it's adding more leafy greens to your meals, walking for 10 minutes a day, or calling an old friend.
And the final key takeaway?
Remember that our brains have lifelong plasticity. It's never too late to start. These studies show that even when starting between the ages of 60 and 79, participants could still see significant improvements in cognitive function within just 2 years. Over 90% of participants in the U.S. Pointer study completed the 2-year program, and many, like Miss Phyllis Jones, described the experience as life-changing. This proves that when we have the right motivation and support, lifestyle changes are entirely possible.
That's truly inspiring. So, can we start today?
Of course. Let me offer a simple 7-day plan that anyone can start. Days 1 to 2, boost nutrition. Add a handful of blueberries or strawberries to your breakfast. Eat a handful of walnuts or almonds as a snack. Days 3 to 4, start moving. Take a brisk 10 to 15-minute walk each day. Try a few squats or push-ups according to your ability. Days 5 to 6, challenge your brain. Solve a Sudoku or crossword puzzle. Learn 5 new words in your favorite foreign language. Day 7, connect socially. Call a friend you haven't spoken to in a while. Join a community activity or club.
Wonderful. Are there any special considerations?
There are some important points that our listeners should remember. First, although the U.S. Pointer study showed positive results, as Professor Christine Yaffe from UCSF noted, the difference in cognitive improvement between the two groups was quite modest. This means that we shouldn't expect miraculous results overnight. Second, because this study combined many types of lifestyle interventions, it's impossible to determine exactly which factor is most effective for each person. Therefore, the best approach is to implement them all concurrently. Third, the improvements were mainly seen in executive function rather than memory or mental processing speed, which suggests more of a vascular pathway and less of an Alzheimer's one. This means a healthy lifestyle may be particularly effective in preventing brain problems related to blood circulation.
What about those with a family history of Alzheimer's?
That's a very important question. The U.S. Pointer study is particularly significant because 78% of participants had a family history of cognitive decline, just like Miss Phyllis Jones and Mr. Peter Van Wyk, whom we mentioned. The fact that both of them saw significant improvements shows that genetics are not a death sentence. While we cannot change our genes, we can influence how those genes are expressed through our lifestyle. This is known as epigenetics, the study of how environment and lifestyle can turn genes on or off. A recent study showed that even people carrying the APOE4 gene, the highest risk gene for Alzheimer's, could still reduce their risk through a healthy lifestyle.
That's so hopeful. So, what does the future of brain research look like?
Currently, researchers are analyzing biomarkers and neuroimaging data from the participants, and they will follow them for another 4 years to see how these interventions impact long-term cognitive health. At the same time, they're working with partners to implement structured lifestyle interventions into the community, not later, but right now. This means that in the near future, we might see programs at hospitals and community health centers that help people apply these findings. Additionally, research on precision medicine or personalized medicine is growing rapidly. In the future, we may have tests to determine exactly which type of intervention is most effective for each individual, based on their genes, lifestyle, and other factors.
Before we finish, let's answer some common questions I often get from patients. Question 1. I'm 70 years old. Is it too late to start?
Absolutely not. The U.S. Pointer study included people aged 60 to 79, and they all saw improvements. The brain has the ability to adapt throughout life. This is called neuroplasticity. Another study even showed that people in their 90s can still form new neural connections.
Question 2. I don't have time for 4 days of aerobic exercise like in the study. Is there a simpler way? This is a practical question. Associate Professor Lin, do you have any suggestions?
The self-directed group in the study, those who only received general health education, saw significant cognitive improvements. This shows that every effort counts. The WHO recommends at least 150 minutes of moderate activity per week, which is about 20 minutes a day. You can break it up, a 10-minute walk in the morning, 10 minutes in the evening. Consistency is more important than intensity.
Question 4. Do brain supplements really work?
Studies suggest that vitamin E, omega-3s, and certain antioxidants can be beneficial, but it's best to get them from whole foods rather than pills. The MIND diet we discussed is scientifically proven, whereas bottled brain supplements often lack evidence.
Question 4. My child is worried about genetics. Both of my parents had Alzheimer's. Should my child get genetic testing? This is a sensitive question.
Genetic testing can provide information, but it should be discussed thoroughly with a genetic counselor. More importantly, understand that genes are only part of the story. Research shows that even people with high-risk genes can significantly reduce their risk through lifestyle. Instead of worrying about what you can't change, focus on what you can control: diet, exercise, learning, and social connection.
We're almost out of time. Associate Professor Lin, do you have a final message for our listeners?
I want to emphasize that taking care of your brain isn't a project with a start and end date, but a lifelong journey. Every healthy meal, every step you take, every conversation with friends, every new intellectual challenge. These are all gifts you give to your future brain. As research has shown, 45% of dementia cases can be prevented. This number isn't just a statistic, it's hope. It's power in each of our hands.
Wonderful. And I want to remind our listeners that although the information we share is based on credible scientific research, everyone's situation is different. Please consult your doctor before making significant changes to your diet or exercise routine, especially if you have existing health conditions.
Exactly. And remember to start slowly, listen to your body, and find joy in this journey. As Peter Van Wyk said, if you like it, you'll be able to sustain it.
Thank you, Associate Professor Lin, for an incredibly informative session. And thank you to all of you for listening to Live Healthy Every Day. Remember, a healthy brain is not a luxury, but a right that each of us can strive for through our daily choices. See you in the next episode. Have a great day, and don't forget to take care of your brain.